there's an important issue that you need to focus on regarding constitutional law. We've all heard since we were little that the highest court in the land is the U.S. Supreme Court, and that's true. But the U.S. Supreme Court interprets the federal Constitution. That's the Constitution that we all know and love. It's the one that's printed in your book, Bill of Rights. However, we are also citizens under another constitution, and that's the New York State Constitution. Even though the language is often identical or very similar to the federal Constitution, there's a different court that's in charge of interpreting the New York State Constitution, and that's the highest court in the state system, which is the New York State Court of Appeals. When there's an issue that could be determined under either the federal Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, or the New York State Constitution, the U.S. Supreme Court is the final authority regarding the federal Constitution. The New York State Court of Appeals will be the final authority under the state Constitution if it's a New York State citizen. So think search and seizure. There could be a case of whether a search was legal that is argued under the federal Constitution and the state Constitution. The case could go all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court would make a decision setting minimal rights for individuals that all of the states would have to abide by. They couldn't give individuals less rights than what the U.S. Supreme Court gave. However, the state courts are free to give their citizens more rights than what the federal court gives. So the case could go to the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court could say, that's fine, that's a legal search, but we're going to send it back to the New York State courts because it's a New York State citizen. And the New York State Court of Appeals could look at the very same case based on the New York State Constitution and say, no, we're going to give our state citizens greater rights than what they have under the U.S. Supreme Court decision, and say that it's a bad search and throw it out. So when we're talking about individual rights, the states are free to enhance those rights to the detriment of law enforcement, but are not free to give lesser rights than what the federal U.S. Supreme Court standard has been set. And that happens often in New York State. Most people are surprised by that, but if there's an issue regarding individual rights, specifically Fourth Amendment stuff, search and seizure, the right to counsel, those types of things, very often the New York State Court of Appeals will give individuals greater rights than what the U.S. Supreme Court gives. And therefore, the conflict will be decided in the state's favor. So that's an interesting thing that most people don't understand happens all the time. But now you know.